We're back with Colbertradio.com, and now we're for our intellectual repast to go along to counter the reading of James Thurber by Keith Olbermann. We are going to be entertained here by Lance Morrison, who's going to read a book for us on the inside of 9/11. And that's not a porno.
No, it's not. It's not a porno, and it's not a conspiracy theory.
No, that one's called Inside 9 or 11.
Percy last week poo-pooed me a couple weeks ago when I brought this up. And
let's be honest, we all poo-pooed you.
When I brought this up again today, but the book is called Inside 9/11: What Really Happened. The reporters, writers, and editors of Der Spiegel magazine in Germany. Now, the interesting thing.
Deutschbags.
Right. The interesting thing is that
Alabama.
all of these terrorists took their home base in Germany.
Yes.
Because what had happened really after World War II.
Yeah.
Germany became a place of welcome to everyone.
Everybody and everybody.
So these terrorists were able to all settle there in Germany, assume identities, do their thing, build their organization. Network, et cetera, right there in Germany. So these reporters kind of had the inside track to these terrorists. The book's very good, and it chronicles the whole progression from the time when guys like Muhammad Atta got there, and the other guys that flew the planes, and the dudes that came over. They were called the strong men. The guys that actually got on the planes that didn't even hardly know that they were fixing to die.
Yeah, that's an interesting story about that. Only one guy apparently on each plane knew what they were going to do.
And the other thing that it brought out, and this kind of speaks to this Imam, whatever the hell his name is, the guy that wants to build a mosque.
Imam Ralph.
Right.
Imam Ralph.
Yeah.
He was
Imam Crampton.
The media, the right-wing media is all pissed off that he's bringing out that Osama bin Laden was American-made, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody's all up in arms.
Of course, we're always at fault.
Well,
sure.
But this book points to the idea that we didn't really have any problem with Osama bin Laden back when he was heading up the Afghanistan resistance to the Russians.
No, we were helping him.
Right.
Yes.
So I think it's all very interesting. We talk about spin and stuff all the time here, and on the surface of it, I think these guys, on the right or whatever, getting their backs up, would like us to believe, we didn't have anything to do with that. But it's all a progression, Yeah. Saddam Hussein is the same kind of deal. We were perfectly fine with Saddam Hussein, and we've done this with dictators forever.
Sure.
Until they start to do stuff that's just a little more than what we expected. Like total genocide.
Sure.
That's a little more than what we expected. But we only expected partial genocide.
No, but I'm just saying within reason. The other thing that's gotten us in trouble, obviously, in the last 10 years is the internet. Everything is exposed. Nothing is a secret.
Tell me about it.
So I do not think that our government is going to be able to really support these dictators anymore in the world, because the news cycle is always there. It's always going to be there.
We're always going to have this problem until our own State Department is run by people who serve our interests instead of the interests of foreign nations.
Right.
That's the way I look at it. Like, you can't help these people. We've got to stop going around. I wrote an op-ed about this recently, covering this. And what's really ironic about this is when George Bush ran for president in 2000, he ran against nation building because everybody was tired of with Bill Clinton being involved in the Balkans, and why is that any of our business? And we just said, look, we don't want to do this anymore. If they can't get their own act together, why are we sending our sons and daughters over there? And that was one of his big things. We're not doing this anymore. Then came 9/11. Right. And next thing the guy knows, he's nation building. They won't even let us stop.
Right. But I think the interesting thing is that we can deny all we want, but you let a rich guy, and that's the other thing. Osama bin Laden was just a rich guy with nothing better to do with his damn money. He inherited like $85 million.
Sure.
His parents were killed. It had nothing better to do with his money. But, well, no, but starting to raise.
Not bloody likely.
Must have been a Republican.
Start to raise hell and support militant factions of Islam. I mean, that was kind of his hobby, and it just kind of blew up.
He's the evil Sheldon.
I really don't think that was kind of what was happening on his weekend, though. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of
Well,
stems from his ideology.
Well, you also have to start in Islam. There are very strict.
But it became his
rules.
thing. I mean, it's a real good book to read, by the way.
Infidels are not even allowed.
The interesting
They're
thing
even
is,
allowed
and I felt like I've read some of this before, but it chronicles some of the people trying to get down from the various floors and the miracles that just happened.
Sounds like really good reading.
It really is. That it's written in such a way that you actually are kind of traveling with the people through the hallways, through the smoke and the soot and the elevators and stuff like that. And
I had a sister who was there. Ran for her life.
So you get the feeling that you're actually.
Thank God she made it.
It's very descriptive. You feel like you're actually kind of in the building. There are scenes in there where the people feel like they're going to be rescued, and it's obvious. No one would know now that there was just no way that they were going to be rescued. There's a couple scenes in there where everybody was talking on their cell phones. We hear so often about Flight 93.
People on their phones.
Everybody from the towers were talking to their friends, their families, or whatever. There were people being told to go to the roof because helicopters were going to pick them up. Well, that never happened because it was just impossible to pick them up from the roof.
Couldn't.
It chronicled the people jumping out of the windows. It was really very.
I remember watching that. It was very hard to watch.
Now,
actually, watching people leaping out of the
My
windows.
cousins in New Jersey said, and the interesting thing is, and I never heard of this, we know stuff about Hugo because we were here. Okay?
Yeah.
There's little stuff that we can talk about. You go, wow, that really happened? Yeah, it really happened. My cousin said, since they were in New Jersey, right across the river, they said there were cases where there were a lot more people that lived because when the buildings toppled, it created, different rooms and pockets and stuff. They found people days later praying, just, they just lay down and folding their hands on their chests and things, run out of air and stuff. And this is like, this stuff we never heard about. But, my cousins or whatever said, yeah, there's something like that all the time. This stuff you hear on the national media. So they didn't want it to go, totally viral.
We just on the base there's a new crop of Chief Selects because it's that season. One of the guys was a response worker during 9/11. He was a volunteer firefighter. He said that they were sorting body parts. They weren't sorting people. They were literally sorting body parts. So forensic investigators had individual, and they could basically put bodies together like a jigsaw puzzle, so they could ship the remains to their guys.
When they were talking about the people evacuating the buildings, as they were coming out, there were body parts of people who were in the buildings and body parts of the people who were in the planes. And they were all on the ground, and the firefighters were telling people, just keep looking forward, just keep looking forward. And some of them obviously described that they just couldn't
forget what they saw.
Looking over there.
Well, we're going to have to
great book.
go out the segment. Thank you very much for bringing that up to us. And if you have an opportunity to read, what's the title of the book?
It's called Inside 9/11, What Really Happened, Reporters, Writers, and Editors of Der Spiegel magazine.
All right. And thanks for that, Lance, and we'll be right back with Colbertradio.com.